Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Brian sent me an interesting note about a case out of Nevada. It's pretty cool, an interesting case. From the Reno Gazette-Journal, and Michael Lyle wrote it. Police said traffic violation, let them stop driver and look for drugs. And the Nevada Supreme Court disagreed. The Nevada Supreme Court stepped in, weighed in on this one and said, no. The Nevada Supreme Court in December ruled that an officer who pulled over a suspected drug dealer for having a dealership-issued license plate cover that obscured the word Nevada lacked probable cause to initiate the traffic stop in the first place. And this is actually a debate. I've seen this in other states where you've got a license plate. I describe a license plate to you, but I'm not sure where I could get an example to show you. But a lot of license plates actually say things like, Michigan or Great Lakes State or something, whatever your state motto is and what state it is. And so those license plate frames, which I generally don't like, but they do sometimes cover some of the border of what's on the license plate. They don't cover the important stuff in the middle. And generally, they don't cover so much you can't tell what state the plate's from. Now, some states, like Michigan, for instance, have recently added dozens and dozens and dozens of different kinds of plates that you can order. You can get a license plate for what school you went to, what school you support, some kind of cause, just all kinds of stuff. But the point is that a trained police officer can look at the plate and go, okay, that's a Michigan plate, and I can read the letters and numbers. Well, they say, if you cover any part of it, we don't know what you covered, even though they do. So that was the excuse. And the Reno Police Department back in 2021, March, used the alleged traffic violation of the covered word to pull over a man they suspect of drug activity. Now, it's true that they may have had their suspicions confirmed when they found 187 grams of meth on him. But the decision reverses the lower court ruling and the conviction and brings up larger questions on the use of pretextual stops, which is when police officers pull over people for minor traffic infractions to investigate more serious crimes, or just occasionally pull people over and they make up something. I saw you weave in your lane. You're driving down, and all of a sudden, it looked like you weaved a little bit. You weaved. The implications are if officers are really trying to investigate drug activity, they're going to do a pretextual stop or a wall stop, which is based on a traffic violation, not the drug activity. They need to make sure they pick a statute that is clear, says the public defender. According to court documents, a confidential informant had told somebody in law enforcement that this man would be traveling through Reno with a large amount of stuff on him. And so basically, they got a confidential informant who said this guy's got stuff on him. The question is that enough to pull him over and search his car? So officers decided to perform a pretextual traffic stop. Because, in other words, you can follow the guy and hope he breaks the law, but apparently he didn't. They said, okay, his license plate was covered. Now, the practice is lawful, they claim, because the person is violating a traffic law and gives law enforcement the basis to do a temporary detention with or without other reasons for doing so. But we've talked about this before. The Supreme Court has ruled, as have many state Supreme Courts, that if they pull you over for a traffic violation, the traffic stop should last no longer than is necessary than it is to write the ticket or investigate, license, registration, net proof, insurance, that kind of thing. But they can't keep you at the roadside for an hour and a half just chit-chatting with you, grilling you about stuff because your license plate had one word covered by a license plate frame. So in this case, the officer observed no moving violation and focused solely on the vehicle's license plate and the license plate frame. After being pulled over and questioned, the officer asked the man for permission to search his vehicle, which he refused. And the officer then deployed his drug detection canine, and the canine alerted. Law enforcement then found what they found. Now, we've also discussed this. The police dogs are not 100% accurate, and occasionally they make mistakes. But, of course, it's really hard to cross-examine a police dog. So, meanwhile, the man's lawyer sought to suppress the evidence and argued it was obtained during an unlawful traffic stop, and the district court denied that motion. Now, in its ruling, the Nevada Supreme Court wrote the district court erred in denying the motion to suppress because there was no probable cause to support the stop based on the violation of Nevada statute. The court said the deputy lacked probable cause to justify the traffic stop. Because he was unlawfully stopped, all of the things they found cannot be introduced in trial. If they can't introduce drugs in the trial, there's no evidence to introduce, therefore no trial. The court also said the dealership-issued license plate frame did not constitute foreign material. And people are going to ask, well, wait a second. Is it lawful to cover your license plate? And apparently in Nevada, the license plate must be legible, readable, and all that, and it cannot have foreign material on it that keeps it from being read. Obviously, anytime your license plate is on your car, it's got some dirt on it. The question is, does the dirt make it so you can't read it? And I've seen vehicles, especially in the springtime in Michigan, that are covered with mud, including the license plate. You can't read them. Technically speaking, a police officer can pull you over and go, I cannot read your license plate. Do something about it, okay? But here, they're trying to say that the foreign material is that license plate frame, which is a stretch. And to hold otherwise would effectively ban the use of ubiquitous license plate frames and promote subjective law enforcement, said the court. Such an outcome would be for the legislature to clearly authorize, not for this court to divine. While pretextual stops are legal, they question how they're deployed by law enforcement. The attorneys do. The laws say you can conduct a temporary detention of someone if you suspect there's criminal activity afoot. So the attorney said, if you're confident that there's drug activity going on, you don't have to be confident in that sense. You just need reasonable suspicion or probable cause. The question then is, if you've got those things, why are you looking for a traffic violation? So the attorney is pointing out that the argument over the traffic violation is kind of like a red herring. Because if you're going to pull him over for the foreign material on his license plate, pull him over, give him a ticket, let him go on his way. So the attorney here is currently defending a client in a similar case who was pulled over for not having a front-facing license plate. Nevada law requires cars manufactured to have a front license plate frame to display a license plate. And that's kind of a strange thing. Some states just say you've got to have one. It doesn't matter if the manufacturer puts a bracket there or not. Michigan used to require it long, long ago, but not anymore. So that's how come I can put a license plate behind me that matches the one on my car, because you can order a second plate, but you don't have to put it on your car. While officers initiated the stop based on a traffic violation, the main reason for the stop was to investigate suspected drug activity. When they asked the officer why they didn't stop the man based on a reasonable suspicion that they had based on suspected drug activity, the officer said, it just makes it cleaner. It makes it cleaner. It's easier to say license plate than anonymous tip or confidential informant or whatever. In recent years, there have been legislative attempts to address the power officers have when it comes to pulling people over. The ACLU estimates that law enforcement stops more than 20 million people every year for traffic violations. Democratic State Senator Dallas Harris sponsored a Senate bill which would have prevented police officers from citing drivers solely based on low-level offenses such as an improperly displayed license plate or a tag or a single broken taillight. The legislation would have allowed officers to pull drivers over, but only to give them a written or verbal warning. Law enforcement and police unions remained neutral on the legislation. The bill passed out of the state Senate 14-7, but failed to advance out of the Assembly. Meanwhile, the attorney said lawmakers should consider legislation in the future that addresses law enforcement's ability to detain people for insignificant stuff that isn't posing any kind of safety concern. I don't care if someone doesn't have a front license plate, whether a car is manufactured to have one or not. If we say law enforcement can detain any individual for any violation, then you really have to be careful when you drive. And by the way, that bit about you only have to have the license plate if your car is equipped with a proper bracket is kind of goofy. And by goofy, I mean it's weird because so a car goes by down the road, the police officer goes, hey, there's no front license plate. Well, did the car come from the manufacturer with a bracket for a license plate? How many police officers know that off the top of their head? What you need to do is either require them on all cars, a front license plate, or require them on no cars. But to say it's one or the other, depending on how the car was manufactured, because I can also tell you there's some cars where they've got the bracket up there that's very easy to remove. And once it's gone, you wouldn't notice it, that it was gone. So, like I said, Michigan, we got rid of the front license plate requirement a long time ago. And so I don't have front license plates on any of my cars. But I can tell you that one of my cars that I have, I bought used from the original owner who had a front license plate on it. And as soon as I got the car, I took the front license plate off. And guess what? There's sun damage around the license plate, but not where the plate was. And I removed the plate. Now there's this black rectangle where the plate used to be. Just pointing that out. I'm not complaining. I'm just simply pointing it out. So here we have in Nevada a Supreme Court saying if someone gets pulled over for a minor traffic violation It does not give you carte blanche to search the car or do anything like that. You pull them over for traffic violation, write them up for the traffic violation, and let them go. And so the police officer going, well, it's easier, cleaner to do it this way. Yeah, for you guys it is, but it turns out that that's not what the courts want you to do. So going forward in Nevada, the pretextual stops, you can write them for whatever it is you pulled them over for, but it's not like, oh, we pulled them over, now we've got our toe in the door. We can like wedge our way in the rest of the way, which is a bad analogy for a car, but again, here we are. So, Brian, thanks for sending that. From the Reno Gazette-Journal, Michael Lyle wrote that. Police said traffic violation let them stop a driver and look for drugs, but the Nevada Supreme Court has disagreed with them. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. You are allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time.